I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting of the East Troy School District Board of Education and all other meetings of the board are open to the public in compliance with state statute. Notice of the meeting has been sent to the media and/or has been publicly posted in an attempt to make the citizens of the district aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve of the agenda as posted. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Agenda's approved. We have minutes of May 20th.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the minutes of May 20th, 2024 regular board meeting. Second.
Okay, any discussion, changes? All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public participation. Nobody here tonight, so we'll move on to the financial report.
I move the approval of the May 2024 payments in the amount of $2,280,853.44 and receipt in the amount of $478,880.74 as reflected in the financial statement. Second.
All right, any questions? Anything for Amy? Okay. All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Financial report is approved. Discussion action items. First one is staffing resignations.
Yeah, within your packets, there's two. One only needs to be moved on tonight. One's a teacher and one's for paraprofessional. So we approve the resignations for the teacher. I'll read both of them though, because I'd like to give the paraprofessional due recognition and gratitude. Dear Mr. Wirtz, please accept this letter as formal notification of my resignation from my position as a special education teacher at Prairie View Elementary. My last day of work will be at the end of the school year. This decision was not made lightly, as I have greatly valued my time at Prairie View Elementary and the opportunity to work with such dedicated colleagues, students, and families. However, after much consideration, I have decided to pursue new opportunities that allow me to work in the same district as my son and closer to home. I am sincerely grateful for the support and mentorship I have received during my year here. Working with the Prairie View Special Education team, both teachers and paras, has been a blessing. Each person of the team is an incredible asset. I want to express my deepest appreciation for the opportunity to be a part of the Prairie View Elementary community. I will carry the lessons and experiences I have gained here with me as I move forward in my career. Thank you once again for your understanding and support. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you need any further information or assistance during this transition period. Sincerely, Emily Sams. And the other one that I'd like to just give gratitude and appreciation to is, Dear Dr. Hibner in the East Troy Community School District, please accept this letter of resignation from my position as administrative assistant in the counseling office at East Troy High School. My last day of work will be June 28th. Thank you for the opportunity to work at the high school. I have so enjoyed working with all the administrators, teachers, other staff, and of course, everyone in the counseling office. East Troy High School has been an excellent place to work. Everyone is easy to get along with and cares so much for all the kids to make sure that they have the opportunity to be the best they can be, as well as knowing that they have someone to talk to whenever they need it. It has been so fun to get to know all the students here at the high school. It is so fun to see how much they succeed in their future. I will miss everyone and the students, but I look forward to retiring and enjoying my family and traveling. I will still be around in the community and look forward to reading about all the great accomplishments at East Troy High School. Sincerely, Brenda Rosine. So I just wanted to read that and thank Brenda and wish her the best of luck with her future endeavors and all of her time assisting the East Troy School District and especially the high school, and also Miss Emily Sams with her new transition. But tonight, the board would need to move on approval of Emily's resignation.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of Emily Sams.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Where is she going? What district is she going?
Emily?
Yeah.
Mark?
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Mark.
Staffing recommendations.
I have one. Oh, did you want to go first? Okay. I I am going to present on behalf of Amanda Jones and Lindsay Harris, who cannot be with us this evening. So I have the recommendation for special education teacher 4K. This position is open due to a resignation. 9 applications were received. All of them were screened, and 4 candidates were invited for an interview. The interview team consisted of Lindsay Harris, Amanda Jones, Sandy Day, and Kelly Fitch. Candidates answered questions covering professional background, knowledge of best practices, and district goals and initiatives. Responses and materials were reviewed by the interview team, and a top candidate was selected. Background check and reference checks were conducted. We are bringing forward Alexandra, she goes by Lexi Runnels. She graduated from UW La Crosse in December of 2023 with a bachelor's degree in elementary middle education and special education, so she's dual certified. She completed her student teaching in both regular education and special education in Elkhorn, and most recently served as a 5K long-term sub in Elkhorn. Her cooperating teacher stated that Lexi is flexible, considers student interests, and clearly cares about kids. She was also described by her references as thorough and amazing. It was additionally noted that she established such a strong rapport with students that they have been asking about her return since she completed her student teaching placement. So we bring forward Alexandra Runnels.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Alexandra Reynolds as special education teacher.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. I'm bringing forth a hiring recommendation for our 1.0 middle school, high school alt ed position over at district office. This is replacing a resignation that we had earlier in the year. We received 4 applications. We extended interviews to 3 of those 4 people. 2 of them accepted, so we held 2 interviews. On the interview team was Taylor Baumeister, myself, Erin Judd, and Melissa Burke. Melissa serves as the Learning Center teacher here at the high school. We offered a series of questions to both candidates, asked them about their philosophies and their backgrounds. And Julian Schwartz was one of the ones that we were interviewing. Julian holds a master's in school counseling from Marquette and a bachelor's degree in psychology. According to his references, Julian forms outstanding relationships with his students and goes above and beyond to support them. In addition, the references states that he meets students where they're at and supports them from there. I thought that said a lot. I've never had somebody say that before in a reference check. I thought that was pretty powerful. And that he has an extraordinarily hard work ethic, and that they would hire him without any hesitation for an alternative ed position. On a side note, Julian was a school counselor for 3 years in West Allis from 2009 to 2012, and then he left to be an assistant at the Division I level at the University of Memphis and Georgia Tech for basketball for the past 11 years. So a very diverse and interesting background. He told us during the interview that when we asked about experience that he had supporting students, he said, you know, some of the Division I athletes that he had to support, they were there to play basketball, not necessarily perform well in school, and he had to support them and help them be successful students as well as athletes. And I thought that was a really intriguing connection that he made. So we are recommending Julian Schwartz for hire as our 1.0 middle school, high school alt ed teacher.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Julian Schwartz for the middle school, high school alt ed teacher. Okay, discussion.
Apologize for my lack of knowledge. What is the role of the alt-ed teacher?
Sure, good question. I should have explained that. Sorry, Kevin. So we have an alternative learning center over at district office. It's actually a two-part position. So in the morning, they teach ETCI, which is East Troy Career Institute. Those are students that are not struggling or credit deficient, but they just prefer a different route to earn their credits. A lot of them have a youth apprenticeship or job placement in the afternoon, and the flexibility of ETCI allows them that opportunity that they want. And then in the afternoon, it's an alternative ed placement for kids that struggle in a traditional setting. So alternative curriculum to gain credits or recover credits that they may have failed in order to accelerate and be able to graduate on time.
This is the only one instructor for the whole district for that program?
Yes, we do have Melissa Burke here at the high school. I would classify that as like a tier 3. So like tier 1 is our every student. Some students need tier 2 intervention, so that would be Melissa. So they just need support to be successful in their classes, but they can do that, you know, in lieu of a study hall. Melissa helps them here. And then this is like a tier 3. So, you know, outside of our traditional classes, much more individualized and a different approach over at district office. Good question.
All right, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is that all of them? Okay. Next item, approval of donations.
Okay, there's several donations in your packet, starting on page 46. First is East Troy Snow Trojans. They donated $500 towards our Economic Assistant Angel Fund. There's also a donation from Blue Bay Incorporated of McGuanago. They donated $500 to the school district. Next, there's a donation from East Troy L's Sports Booster Club. They donated a total of $12,200. East Troy Boys Soccer receives $5,000. East Troy Girls Soccer $5,000, and the volleyball program $2,200 towards uniforms. So a total of $12,200 from the East Troy L Sports Booster Club. Next, there's a donation from East Troy Lions Club, $2,300 towards the high school HOSA program, which is health occupations, a program for students interested in those areas and potential careers. And there's also a donation from Edward Hinsberger and Samantha Brown in the amount of $200, and that will go towards the East Troy's Angel Fund economic assistant for students.
Do you want to just hit on the donation from the East Troy Sports Boosters?
So Amy said, she mentioned the Booster Club, which is in here for the soccer program. And then I just wanted to note that the soccer program is also receiving a donation from Ogden Construction. The owners of Ogden Construction had daughters that played in the soccer program. So with the addition of the new team shelters, they reached out and said we want to donate some sort of concrete slab to go under the shelter, which I thought was fantastic. So I don't know the monetary value of that. Obviously work in education, not construction, right? But I would assume it's a pretty penny. So just wanted to say thank you to them.
Very nice. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the donations as presented tonight with a large thank you. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of approval, say thank you. Motion carries. Next item, discussion and action, if appropriate, for a 10-cent increase in breakfast and lunch prices for the 24-25 school year.
Yes, I can talk a little bit about the proposed food service price increase. Our food service director, Andrea Schinke, she looked at a lot of data from like food costs and labor. Of course, food costs and labor keep increasing, and our percentages are a little bit higher than the standards. We do have a significant fund balance right now for Fund 50, which is our food service. However, with the food costs rising and labor, eventually we'll be using that fund balance to sustain the program. So, food service price increase for breakfast and lunch. If we do gradual increases, it would ensure the program remains sustainable for a longer period of time. Also keeps that fund balance sufficient in case there is equipment failures or other emergencies that allows us to cover those expenses. So if we raise the prices by 10 cents, our elementary lunch would be $2.90 for next year. Middle school lunch would be $310 for lunch, and high school would be $3.15 for lunch. She also took a survey that was performed by the co-op we work with to order food, and even with the increase, we are still slightly below average breakfast and lunch prices compared to the comparable other districts. Do you have any questions regarding the proposed increase?
I think the big thing to note is in that second paragraph by Andrea a little bit, right? I mean, obviously in the first, she explains the why about the increased food costs, obviously the last few years, increased wages and probable decrease in federal funding, right? Especially from the end of the pandemic. But I think that in the second sentence down there, third sentence, our current average paid lunch price, current average is $2.91, and according to DPI for the 24-25 school year, our average target paid lunch price should be $3.85. And yet then if we still look at the 10 cents increase, right, we're at $2.90 elementary, $3.10 for middle school, and $3.15 for the high school. So I think that's pretty telling still where we're at. I would also encourage people to reach out to the district for the free and reduced lunch if needed prices, right? That we encourage people each and every year to be reaching out to the district for to see if they were to qualify and be eligible for the free and reduced lunch price. I mean, it's significantly difference in a great support and assistance for some families. I mean, when a reduced lunch price is at 40 cents, that's significant for families to utilize.
And also saying that we're still close to the lower end on all the districts in the area. And
You have a
definitely
note that lack of participation is also affecting food cost. I assume that means students not taking it, so we lose the economy of scale.
Right. During the COVID years, there was a federal program that provided free meals to all students, and that ended last year. And since families have had to pay for meals, if they don't qualify for free or reduced meals, they have to pay the full price, and then participation has declined, as well as over-enrollment across the state continues to decline, so that's also a challenge. There's just not as many students to take the lunch and students that do take the lunch. So we do always look at other alternatives to try to sell more a la carte items. She does provide catering to other departments or meetings that the district has. We do look at other revenue streams as well, but it is challenging with the enrollments and for students who participate to meet the food cost.
My kids prefer to bring a lunch, and I've never asked them why. And I'm curious if you guys, you seem to indicate it dropped when the food prices increased, but my kids don't care about that. I'd be curious to find out from the students why they're bringing lunches.
That's a good question, Kevin. I think Andrea could maybe do a survey to look into that a little bit more. I know a few years ago we had done a survey, I believe Ruth Bentley had, and we did look at it from elementary to high school level in regards to what was being provided and what they wish or maybe was being served. Some of the information that came back was quantity, right? They wanted just larger amounts, and that's the toughest part in regards to, I think, on the food service side is some of their suggestions were absolutely implemented from a standpoint of what foods they like more often, so we started turning that over quicker. But I think a little bit of it too is the guidelines on the quantity. So quantity was a big thing, and yet we're still restricted by the amounts we can provide.
Well, and I feel like my kids might have felt like they don't get enough time if they're getting hot lunch.
Oh, that's important to know.
So
Yeah,
that's why I'd be curious, like,
Yeah, that's
if
important
kids
to
are bringing
know.
lunches,
I
like,
think that was at one point in time, again, at one point in time, I think we noticed that at one of the age levels, I can't recall which one. And so we had worked on that from a standpoint of how kids were rotating into the obviously cafeteria area to get their hot lunch. And so it wasn't so much like getting up in 8 minutes and having to be out at recess. Yes.
yeah, I saw that note, and I don't know why my kids bring cold lunch. And
Yeah,
don't
I
know
did.
if we have a good idea.
Andrea and I did discuss that too, and right now, and from the lunches I observed, it seemed like they had enough time to get through the line and eat their lunch. I know Andrea has tried different menu options as well. She has surveyed some students, and she has tried different menu options that were really popular. So I think through the year it has increased a little bit, and we're definitely trying that. I encourage students to try the hot lunch. We do have to go by the federal guidelines. There has to be so many whole grains, limited salt at times, fruits and vegetables. But it is offered versus served. They can pick, I believe, up to 5 items. So if they choose the fruits and vegetables, there is plenty of food to eat. Sometimes it's getting that variety that kids will try and enjoy eating is the challenge.
Yeah, I want to make sure to reiterate what Amy just said there. Our food service department, through the years, with Andrea now and Ruth prior, they've done a great job of trying to understand what it is that the students want, what it is, why they're not taking it. So they are checking in constantly and working with the building level administrators on that schedule, timeline, all those type of things. So I think one of the big things that just has adjusted, that's significantly impacting a lot of food service areas is just during the pandemic, the food service was free. Because of the federal funds. And we did have, obviously, everybody taking advantage of it as well as they should. But that was a big transition back to no longer having that. And it was a transition for a lot of families to have to, in all due respect, for us to have to be charging again.
It's interesting though too, like we're saying our food's gonna cost more, but I'm paying I feel like I'm paying 60% more when I go to the grocery store, so I'd rather have my kids take hot lunch than, buy plus groceries myself. And I wonder how many families, realize that too.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, I would imagine $3 a day. That'd be pretty tough to do, to
Yeah.
pack a lunch at that dollar amount every
Yeah.
day.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 10-cent increase in breakfast and lunch prices for the 24-25 school year. Okay, discussion? All right, all in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have approved policy 345.4, acceleration.
55 of your packet. There were no changes made since the second reading. So just as a reminder, we are just taking off the middle school students that are taking courses at the high school. The completion of the course used to be included on the high school transcript, which led to some confusion. So we are striking that. Will not be on the high school transcript.
I'll make a motion for the approval of policy 345.4, acceleration.
Okay, discussion. All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? That policy is approved. Then we have policy 361.1, selection of library instructional materials.
It's page 56 of your packet. Again, there have been no changes since the second reading. We just had revised the procedure for implementing reconsideration of the materials found in our school libraries. Along with that, we updated the form that is used for the request for reconsideration of educational materials to be more current. And so that is also included in your packet. Yes, put the date on it, 100%. Yep.
I'll make a motion for the approval of bonds for 361.1, collection of library instructional materials.
Discussion.
Do you anticipate if people take advantage of this, that the board will get any kind of reporting, like, I'd just be interested to know if people are submitting these?
Sure,
out?
if they come forward. If you're saying that some reconsideration requests come forward,
Yeah, I'd like to know if people are.
yeah, I think we can report out on that. Just as information, because it could eventually come to you, so it would just be an informative.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That policy is approved. Approval of East Troy School Board meeting dates for the 24-25 school year.
Yeah, so these are in your packet. We always, in the past few years, obviously, all the meetings start at 6 o'clock PM unless otherwise designated. September 23rd is marked as the annual meeting, which was approved last year, with a regular meeting to follow that night. And then, again, starting on the 15th of July, we will post these on the website, so they're available and on the calendar right away if approved tonight. And then, as we've always done in years past, October would be at Little Prairie Primary, November would be at Prairie View, December would be at the middle school, and then starting in January, we'd be back at the high school again. With, just pointing out two in August and 2 in April, with one the other months. And the rationale for that is, again, August, there's just a lot going on with hires and everything else. And April is obviously, we're always working on the spring budget, and we have possibly non-renewals and timelines to meet on that end. So any special meeting would be done outside of these meetings.
And I'll make a motion to approve the school board meeting dates for the 24-25 school year. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? That motion is approved. Summer school update.
Page 66 of your packet. So our courses offered at the high school that are being offered for credit started today. There were 2 courses, that's creative writing and human geography A. So those started today. There's 9 students total that are participating amongst those 2 courses. That runs through July 11th. 1 week from today, all other courses will be running. So that's our elementary and middle school courses and high school credit recovery. So you have in front of you the elementary and middle school and high school offerings. I've listed the grade level they're serving as well as the enrollment numbers as of June 6th. That does change. We have kids that are adding and withdrawing. And then I will be coming back to you at the end of our summer school session, so in August, with how this impacts our FTE. So if you remember, we take the minutes that they attend. There's this very cumbersome formula, and it gives us an impact to our FTE, so we can count some of the summer school minutes toward that. We are very similar to what we were last year at this point. But we'll see, because they have to be here in order to be counted. So I will be able to report further out on that. Our summer school session, I should note that the marching band camp is in mid-August, as well as the agriculture leadership does go through Labor Day. So we'll have an accurate account of attendance beginning of September, actually, because of those 2 courses.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
And then a brief school building update and recent celebrations.
All right, good evening. So just a quick comment about the cafeteria and the food. One of the highlights within our celebrations here is how we honor student voice. And so Dr. Hibner and Amy meet with our fifth graders as part of our student advisory committee. I know that those committees meet at the elementary, middle school, and high school. And it's kind of an open mic session with our fifth graders. And they will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about just about everything. And food usually comes up like, oh, we love the pizza dippers, but we don't like this, right? But to second what you're saying, like, for example, Andrea, our food service director, she talks to kids really pretty regularly. She tries a lot of different things. She did food around the world. So they get a chance to experience just a lot of different flavors. So I think we're always kind of looking to see. And for us, so you talked a little bit about how long it takes. It's probably about a 7 or 8 minute. If you're at the back of the line to get through the line, it's probably about 7 minutes to get all the way through the line. But we monitor that closely so that they've got enough time. So I just thought I'd answer that a little bit more from our perspective. Okay, the second thing is with the celebrations here. If you haven't received one already, I'm sure you have. Like, this is a great visual example, along with a lot of the details of the things that probably many of us will be talking about here in a few minutes. But some fantastic information and a lot of things to be proud of. Lindsay's not able to be here this evening, so I just told her I'd skip over Little Prairie. And no, I'll add a few things about Little Prairie too. So for us, again, a lot of this is Lindsay and I working together, but continued academic growth in many of our areas related to reading and math. Every teacher and every building creates a school-wide learning objective, so we set up specific goals. I know at our elementary level, it was related to reading and reading fluency or different aspects of reading. And so at the end of the year, teachers report out, and then we report out to Dr. Hibner what progress we've made. So I think that'll be probably more details in July when we start to go over some of our KPIs. Another thing that's a little bit more consistent now for K through fifth grade is what we're calling the adoption of our Inner Explorer resource. Back in the day when the kiddos would come back in from recess time, there was a read aloud. Remember, like reading Charlotte's Web? Maybe the teacher would read it to you. That's still a pretty common practice, but we've also purchased a curriculum that teaches relaxation skills, teaches a little bit about mindfulness, and the kids get really engaged. So it's about a 4 to 6 minute activity that they go through. Little Prairie started that last year, and then this year we picked it up. So it's great to see kids really kind of get themselves centered and regulated and back to the learning. I think from a learner empowerment perspective, we offer a lot of options for kids. So after school clubs or activities, so like there's Lego Club, Chess Club, STEAM Club, Girls on the Run. We've publicized that as well too at the elementary run by a number of our female teachers. We've had, I think, about 20 girls out there running, really active, and then they do a 5K run at I was going to call them Miller Park, but American Family Field out there. That has been a really great success for them as well, too. Another aspect of continuity between our buildings this year is our student-led parent-teacher conferences. That was something Lindsay's building was leading the way in, and then Prairie View adopted it across the board 3 through 5. And having talked to the classroom teachers, before when you would go to a parent-teacher conference, it was really more this like adult exchange about information. And now, obviously, it's student-led. They are telling their parents and the teacher, like, hey, here's what I need to work on. Here's where I am right now. Here are my goals. And so that's been really powerful and aligns to a lot of our vision and practices as well, too. Healthy organizational culture, a number of different things. All elementary read, so all of us getting involved in that participation in that program. And then I always like to highlight just all of our traditions. And I know that this is things that we already do, but there's certainly that makes us a small community, small town feel of like the pumpkin carving or the movie nights, the PTO activities, the tree decorating on the square. Like those all continue to be like great highlights for our schools. As far as communication and engagement, I really credit Amanda Smith for always being great at this, as well as our classroom teachers or other individuals that will be sending Amanda the pictures or the videos or whatever it might be to get out on Facebook, get out on Instagram. I feel over the course of the last couple of years, we've really surged into those platforms, and I think seen much more traffic related to promoting who we are. Cooperation Learn, Christine Homily, they had over 450 participants this spring walking through the door. So again, just traffic within our building, getting families and community members to see a little bit more about what we're doing. I shared a little bit about our student-led conferences. Our student advisory that Dr. Hibner leads. But the other thing that I would say from a teacher perspective is the appreciation of teachers that have participating in the teacher advisory meetings. So I think that might be quarterly as well too, Dr. Hibner, about Yep. So when we think about just good stewards of our district resources, that again is a really great open mic session for our teachers to share, like, hey, here's how we could probably just do things more effective or more efficiently. So I think we learn a lot from their hands-on and classroom experience as well too. And then finally, our teachers commented to both Lindsay and I about the strength of our mentoring program continues to be a highlight of our building. Obviously, we're very busy now this time of the year in the recruitment of quality individuals, but throughout the course of the year, then it shifts to retaining. Like, how do we keep them here? How do we keep them happy and engaged within our mission and our vision? So just a couple of highlights from our school. Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Good evening. So I'm going to highlight the middle school, look at some celebrations, both as a whole school, but also some individual accomplishments. And, looking back, putting this stuff together is kind of cool to just remember all the events that happened. The year can be a big blur at this time of year, and you're just trying to recover and recollect yourself a little bit. But it's really cool to kind of look back and say, yeah, we accomplished a lot, and there were some really fun activities that our students got to participate in, and things that our staff really helped lead the charge in, which I'm really grateful for. First thing I want to talk about, and Mark hit on traditions, is our Color Blast, our Glow Dance event. It's becoming a pretty annual thing. It brings a lot, not just our students, but family, community members, students from all buildings together to have some fun, have a run, and also have a glow dance for the students. On top of that, it's also a fundraiser for us, and it profited about $6,000 for our school that goes to trips and PBIS rewards. So that was really a successful event, and I just want to mention Kelly Wojcik, who is one of our teachers. Really does a lot of the organizing for that, putting together sponsorships. I just want to recognize her in her efforts for that. Another area, and at some point we'll stop talking about COVID, but after COVID, and I think 2 years ago, we had a big shift in staff leaving. A lot of our clubs took a big hit. So one thing we're trying to focus on is get a footprint of after-school activities for our students back and going again. This year we got a few up. Our art club had really good participation in it after school. We had a chess and gaming club that had good participation. And just near the end of the year, we had a fitness club that utilized our fitness classroom at the middle school. Due to some overcrowding over here, we wanted to make use of that space over there. So had a few clubs going. We did actually survey our students and our staff to see which ones we could introduce next year and see, like, what are you interested in? What do you want to do? What would get your participation? And I know we are also trying to partnership with the community center. They're possible in terms of like after school programming and what we can do, just because there's a high need for an option for middle school students for after school. So it's just an area that we're trying to focus on. The Southern Lakes Anthology Project, we had 4 middle school students were selected to submit their pieces. to be considered for publication, and Claire Banks was chosen to be publicized in the 23-24 Southern Lake Anthology book, which will be available in our library. So a great celebration for her and for our ELA teachers, our teachers who had a part in that process. Our 6th grade ELA GOAT project. I know some of you guys were around for that. It was a community project. 6th grade ELA teachers had their students come up with a speech and a demonstration, or a presentation on their GOAT. It could be an athlete, it could be a musician. A number of different areas were chosen. And we actually invited parents over at night to come see those projects, and students had to kind of speak on that and worked on their presentation skills and shared really their passion, which was really cool to see. And then they also shared that with the elementary schools and got to engage over there, share their passion as well. So that was really, really cool to see. Washington, D.C. trip. This spring break, several of our 7th and 8th graders had the opportunity to travel to our nation's capital. Event 4 days filled with a million things. They were moving. They were all over the place. Saw the Capitol, the White House, Smithsonian's, many memorials, and just had a really great time. It was cool to hear the stories that came back. They all had their gear on when they came back. They were really excited about it. So I want to shout out to Mr. John Wick, who does a ton of organizing for that event, and he's already fundraising for the next one. So he's fired up and does a lot for that tradition, which has been really great. We have a few middle school FFA members who actually are competing at the state competition, which I believe is tomorrow. The Quiz Bowl team in sectionals won first place, which allowed them to compete at the state competition tomorrow. So nice shout out for those kids, which speaks highly for bringing that ag program to the middle school. There's a lot of interest there, and I think had over 20 to 30 middle school students that are active in kind of the high school FFA chapter as well. Recently, we had our 4th annual Vocabulary Bowl event. The students who made it to the Vocab Bowl learned about 100 plus ACT words in about a month's time. This year it was actually our 6th grade team that came out on top, so our youngsters kind of taking home the title there. 7th and 8th really battled, but in the end 7th grade ended up squeaking out 2nd place, and 8th graders in 3rd place. But really cool to see that excitement over literacy and vocabulary. And again, want to express appreciation to Carrie McBurney, who does a lot in providing that event and support and organization. Mark also talked about some traditions, and our middle school STEAM program with David Murphy leading the charge had Lights on the Square. If you were there around the holidays, really great tradition. Our students actually program those light shows with music and coding, and make use of our smart lab and get to show off some of that work. And then just lastly, we had a few opportunities for advanced learner students. This is led by Mr. Van Sistine, who's our advanced learner coordinator, and he really does countless hours into this group and these opportunities on top of his school psychology duties. So the first one, Southern Lakes Advanced Learner Network Regional Math Meet. Basically compete against 13 other districts. Just a good experience for them, and really did well in that event. We had a science immersion experience where 5 middle school girls were nominated to experience a day at UW-Madison learning about energy grids and sustainability. Students worked with real professors and the Wisconsin Energy Institute. So really cool experience for them to go onto a college campus and see what college life is really like. And then lastly, the Academic Bowl. We competed at Stone Bank Elementary or middle school and against Johnson Creek and Stone Bank, and came out on top, took first place in that. We had also had many individual first place finishers. Our 6th graders took first in math and social studies and science. 7th graders, we had a first place finish in English and math. And then 8th graders took home first place in math and science. So really great showing for our kids there. And again, good opportunities for those advanced learners as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
They had quite the lists. I thought this was just supposed to be a short little summary here. Yeah, okay. This certainly is not all encompassing. There's just a few highlights from the high school. Yeah, way to go. Set me up here. Couple things that you might have seen. So we just wanted to bring it forward is the Oak Box was installed. So on our last in-service day, it is over by the defibrillator by the main gym. So that is, I actually was in Madison this past weekend and watching their news, and it was all over their news for Oak Boxes in Madison. I thought, oh, there we are. So I think it's a nice thing to have. It's kind of an unfortunate thing that's where we are in society, but with graduation, we had 1,000-some people in our gym, and it is kind of nice to know that we had that there if needed. So just wanted to highlight that. In Savannah, it was a student-led project. I'm sure you saw that on the news. That led to the implementation, and Amy Beaver for supporting her in that endeavor. The high school was named to the U.S. News and World Report's Best High School list. That has to do with our AP course offerings and how well our students perform on their AP exams, and our overall ACT and pre-ACT scores. So that was a nice accomplishment, and something that we could talk to our teachers about as a point of pride for them. So that was great. Graduation. Thank you to those that could make it to graduation. I thought it was a very nice graduation. Wanted to thank the band and the choirs. That was phenomenal. That choir song was outstanding. So that leads me into just our music department in general. I want to make sure to thank them. Mr. Bertino was our band teacher, and Mr. Trader, no relation to any other traders we've had in the past, is our choir director. They're doing a fantastic job. Lots of accomplishments in our band and music programs. You know, the Disney trip, firsts at the solo ensemble, so state recognition for those students. So that's great. Wanted to highlight Audrey Severson. She had a 36, which is a perfect score on the ACT as a junior here. So we had a plethora of students. I think we counted them, almost maybe 20 that had above 30s. That 30 is kind of a threshold we always look for, but you don't always get a perfect. So that was a great accomplishment for her. I'm going to take a break and let Mr. Judd talk about athletics and what's happening outside.
Sure. So on behalf of Brian O'Leary and all of the coaches and kids that put their time and effort into it. So within the athletic world, before I get to the facilities stuff, I know that only reason I know that is because we started that Trojan Athletic Council this year, and we're just trying to embrace all these kids and what it means to be a student athlete and how to balance the two. And so Brian gave a little presentation at our last meeting. We had 16, just between fall and winter sports, we had 16 first-team all-conference athletes, and we had 16 second-team all-conference athletes. And then at that point in time, we had 6 kids compete in state competitions, whether it's cross-country, wrestling, skiing, whatever it was. So we get a lot of talk about East Troy athletics are not good enough, and I would argue the polar opposite, right? For how small we are and how many kids are in all of these things, I think that's phenomenal. I would also say between fall and winter sports, every single team won their first playoff game, which I think is huge. We don't need to talk about spring sports, but it's a different story. So facility updates, we got the new sound system put in the gym, which we utilized for graduation, and it didn't cut out one time, which is fantastic. We have the lights for football and soccer going in right now. Once those lights are done, then the track will be getting done. They started the natural turf management program on the football field. If that takes and goes well, then they'll look at doing soccer and baseball and softball. I don't know, a lot of really good things. They're getting like a awning in the concession stand area outside for football and track events. Just a little shade over top for people to utilize, which is donated, yeah. I don't know, all sorts of good stuff going on. 4x2 took second at state, and we had wrestlers that took third, fourth, and sixth. We had that conversation a couple months ago. We had 8 kids total go up to state track. 6 competed, 2 were alternates in relays. Some systems didn't work, timing systems, jumping systems. It just was not operating well. So some of the girls in those relay teams had to overcome that headache and in order to go on to run in their race. So, I mean, to overcome that in front of thousands of people at lacrosse was huge. All sorts of good stuff. So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but.
Just have a couple more. Sorry, I was just taking a break. Couple exciting things. So this summer, I don't know if you follow the Chamber of Commerce, but there is this scavenger games that they are hosting. And we can't tell too much because it's obviously, you know, a scavenger game, so we can't let the cat out of the bag. But the school district is partnering with the chamber and will be involved in those games, so that's fun. Amy had a meeting today, and they were talking about, you know, the details of that, so it's just fun. We had, last year, we started Senior Sunset and Senior Sunrise. So the first day of school, we always meet with the seniors out on the football field and watch the sunrise. And then the last day of school, we always watch the sunset. So that was the Friday of Memorial Day weekend this year. The seniors came in, and they were really flexible. It's a great group. It rained, right? It was like thunderstorming, so we had to move inside, and it was really great. Aaron was there, and Brian. We put all the yard games in the Brett Miller gym. They had kickball games down in the gym. And Aaron tells this story. They came to us in the cafeteria, and we had pizza, and the Murphys that oversee the concession stand for the All Sports Booster Club opened the concession stand, which was wonderful. I thank them for that. And the Booster Club gave popcorn and nachos, just gave them to the kids. So we had plenty of food, and, you know, it was fun, ice cream sandwiches and stuff. So the kids come down to the cafeteria, and they said, "Do you think we could play hide and seek in the school?" And we said, "Sure, but we're not opening any doors. Like, this is all you get." And they ran around and played this hide and seek game for hours. They came up to us and it was like, I think we stopped at 10. Is that when we stopped? And they came up to us at like 9:30, like, can we stay later? You know, no, sorry, you have to go. But they had a blast. It was a really fun way for them to end their year. So the list goes on and on, but those were just kind of some of our highlights.
Nice. All right, thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Aaron. All right, reports. Dr. Ebner.
Just really quick, congratulations to the 23-24 graduates. As Stacy already commented on, I just thought it was a great graduation ceremony. Always a highlight, right, to see all the students come across the stage, and just knowing what's in front of them in their future. So, and then the second thing I just wanted to mention was, obviously, you approved of tonight. Our next board meeting is the 15th of July at the high school library right here. But just a reminder that on that night, we will have the community survey findings. Bill Foster or Darren Sievers from School Perceptions will be reporting out to the full board on the findings of from that survey. So that'll be an intriguing night, I think, on that. And then the other thing is, on the 15th of July, building level administrators, departments, and myself will be reporting out, as we did last year, on the strategic priorities. So the 4 areas, and we'll talk about our key performance indicators and how well from what we put as our goals in the fall, how well the goals came to fruition or not. And then we'll talk about, we'll just be reporting out that night. We won't go into the details about what next, due to the fact that it'll be in the fall again, about, okay, here's our new action, here's the actions that come, the new goals based upon the previous data from this 15th of July. So it'll be a process, as always, for that. And then the one other thing I wanted to ask the board tonight was, due to the fact of the community survey findings on the 15th, I was thinking that, and I was talking to a whole bunch of the other people that are involved, we were thinking that a board workshop session might be needed after that night, due to the fact you will have the data. Obviously, you probably want to have time to view it, but we thought a board workshop session should come back around for the board to talk about the data publicly, but then also work through it, due to the fact if a resolution were to come forward, the resolution needs to come forward again, remember, by the 3rd week about in August, and we would be working with the law firms to get that resolution language done, that possibly after the board workshop session, if the board were to elect based on the information and feeling comfortable, that you might make a motion that night to say, we would like preliminary drafting of the language to look like this. And then what we could do then is work with the necessary attorneys from Quarles and Brady to develop that resolution language, so we could bring it back then on August 5th, the first board meeting, for you to look preliminary at that language, and if any changes need to happen, we would still have time from the date that it needs to occur from the 70 days prior. So what I was thinking is, if the board is available, was like maybe the 24th of July, which gives you a full week from the Monday night of the 15th. It gives you a little bit more than a week. I think that's a Wednesday off the top of my head, the 24th. If that would work. And then and I don't want you thinking why the 24th. 24th was just picked due to the fact of the other subgroups of people that I thought might need to be present for resources for you that night. They all agreed on that night. So again, it's your decision, and I'll make them adjust to your dates if you can't make that work.
Yeah, I'm out that week.
Okay.
I don't know. I could always do remote if I had to.
Oh, we can do a different week too, Ted. I mean, I think the big thing is to have it done before the 5th, so we can work with Quarles and Brady. If you have any possibility of coming to even a preliminary resolution, I think we'd want to start working on that language after the workshop session.
Sure.
So, do you guys have some dates that you want to throw out, or?
So you said you're the whole week here?
Yeah, that whole week. Anytime the week after is fine.
Yeah, I would be available 29th, 30th, 31st, but not after that.
Should we stick to try to do a Monday, since board meetings are Mondays, do like a July 29th?
Yeah.
Try to have that? Okay.
That's fine.
All right, I will put down 29th as the tentative date, and I'll let all of you know, and I'll just follow up with Adam and Anna. And if it works, then I'll follow up with all the other necessary people involved and make sure that we can at least get a majority of people there to assist. So why don't we go the 29th at the district offices even, we'll do?
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock?
Okay.
Does that work? Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what time did you say? 6? 6 o'clock. Okay. Okay. All right, Amy?
I can talk about the final enrollment numbers, membership numbers for 2023-24. On page 69 in your packet, there's a snapshot. The bottom section is our current enrollment as of 6/6/2024. We ended the year with 1,429 students. The trend is it tends to increase through the year. We started in September with 1,417, so increase of about 12 students. If families are looking to attend here, of course, we accept all resident students as well as open enrollment. If you miss the regular open enrollment period from February through April, the alternative open enrollment opens in July, so there's another chance anytime through the year after July for students. If they would like to attend here, the families can apply for open enrollment. If we talk about membership, that's a little bit different. There's lots of terms around pupil counts, membership, FTEs. If you look at the DPI website or different resources for school statistics, there'll be a lot of different terms. So I like to just kind of explain all the different terms. Head count or enrollment is basically students in seats. When we do our pupil counts, we have to do one in September, one in January. You start with your head count. You count basically all the students who attend here. And then to get to what we call a pupil count, the actual pupil count number, we have open enrollment in students who are not residents, so they're subtracted from our head count. And then the open enrollment out students are residents who choose to attend elsewhere through open enrollment. They need to be added back in our head count for funding because they are our residents. And then we get to the pupil count. The pupil count is still not the number you would see like on a revenue limit worksheet. We take the pupil count and convert it to FTEs. So our part-time students are 4K students. They're less than 1.0 FTE, full-time equivalency. So if you look at our membership, that'll probably be a little bit lower than the pupil count. And there are a few pages in the board packet where I try to give a little bit more information if you're not familiar with all the definitions. I showed where the membership is put into the revenue limit worksheet. As Amy mentioned before, our summer school FTEs are also taken into account, and it's a 3-year average that's put in the revenue limit, which is used for determining the revenue limit for the funding, how much we can receive from state aid and the tax levy. Do you have any questions on enrollment or membership before I go on to talk about a little bit more about open enrollment?
On page 72, so the column that says students homeschool, elementary homeschool part-time. So we don't know how many students homeschool full-time, that's not really reflected here, how, where's that reflected?
That is not in the revenue limit. The students who homeschool and attend part-time, we can count them partially in our student count. Students who homeschool 100%, we cannot count. We do not receive any funding.
Do we know how many roughly?
Yes, I believe I have that.
For last year was at 61.
61.
Do we know how that compares to averages, like districts?
That I don't know.
It has been increasing across the state. I believe it's only still 3% of all students, if I remember correctly. I have the statistics that I could share if you're interested.
One of the things we try to do is I think we do pretty successfully, and that is, as Amy alluded to, if they're part-time, right, allowing students, and we try to allow that for any students any child who's homeschooled, we try to allow, if they're interested in taking a course or two, obviously for them too, right? And so we have some students, usually it's either in the arts, right, art or musics, and or the Smart Lab. Is usually where they're interested in, but they might even come for a possible mathematics class. And we'll try to always accommodate, we don't change our schedules for them, but we'll try to accommodate and allow a section or two for a homeschool child to come. Obviously we're trying to assist the student. We know that it does, yes, assist our district too. And we're trying to, in all due respect, trying to hopefully show maybe you'd be more interested in coming to the school district at a larger percentage than just 2 classes a year.
All right, and if there's no further questions, I can talk a little bit about open enrollment. On page 77 in your packet, there's a snapshot of open enrollment for the year, the grades and number of students. I took the data from our open enrollment website, any student we received funding for. It's not easy to get a set number for the year because students are always coming or going. So the charts here show a student that attended any amount of time. They may not have necessarily been in one of the pupil counts. For example, the chart lists 120 students. They open enrolled into the district at some point during the 2023-24 school year, but our September count was only 118, January was 117. So at any one given time, I'd say it's a little bit less than 120 students open enrolled in. And of course, we're always looking to welcome more open enrollment in students. They can fill the applications, as well as resident students. We hope to, with all our good programs, as the principals mentioned, a lot of families are very happy, and we do get more applications every year. For open enrollment out, the chart does show 319 students. But there again, we had some students come just at the very end of the year, therefore they weren't in any of the pupil counts. The counts in September and January were in the 299, 293 range. So a lot of students were just here a short time or weren't in both pupil counts. So that's why for the funding, we do have to count them because they were here a certain number of days and they're part of the formula for funding. But the number is about 299 for open enrollment out. We do have the applications from the regular open enrollment period. Right now we have 20 applicants for open enrollment in and 55 for out. Families can apply to more than one district, and then both the resident and non-resident district has to approve those applications based on the seats available and a few other criteria. And then we send out approvals to those families, and then the families decide whether they would like to attend. So the numbers really are not final until that third Friday in September when we do the pupil count. Do you have any questions on open enrollment?
Nope. All right, thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
All right, Amy F.
Page 79, you will find the meeting minutes from the May Student Learning Subcommittee meeting. At this particular meeting, the committee worked on middle school grading and grade reports that had been implemented. And so this process began 4 years ago in the 2020-21 school year. And it's moving to standards-based grading. And as part of the final steps, a teacher advisory board was created this year that really dug into putting the final touches on this process. And this included things you'll see like a purpose statement, the proficiency scale, established criteria. You'll see outlined there is changes to Skyward, character traits, and the connection to academics, and then reassessment procedures. All of the details that you see in that slideshow were presented as part of an informational parent session that was held at the April parent-teacher conferences, and efforts to communicate this process will continue as our goal is to reach all families and provide clarity. The district will continue to facilitate the conversations and share information through the website as part of our Ready, Set, Go conferences that are held in August. Through video messages and explanations, that idea came from our teachers who feel strongly about recording those videos themselves, so they're going to be working on that, and as part of fall conferences. So we're still working out details regarding athletic eligibility requirements and transition plans from middle school to high school. And then lastly, we explored state report cards from Wisconsin middle schools that have utilized standards-based grading to find that many of those report cards, many of those schools are doing very well on their report cards. And so we took a little time to dig into that. Any questions?
All right,
Okay.
thanks, Amy.
Yes, thank you.
All right, that's it for reports. No policies tonight. Communications announcements? Okay. Any of the board members have any future items to add for future agendas? Okay. No executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor say aye. We are adjourned.